Hi hamster lovers and welcome to Pancake's channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the reality of owning a pet as well as some things to consider before adopting an animal. This information applies to all pets and not just hamsters. So first, let's talk about the cost of owning a pet. All animals are going to be quite expensive, however some are more expensive than others. For a hamster, the startup cost will be anywhere from £150 to £300. With recurring costs of food, bedding and enrichment. The hamster itself will be quite cheap, however the stuff that it needs to be happy will not be cheap, such as a large cage. For a larger animal such as a dog or cat, the startup cost is going to be much more. It can range from about £500 to £4,000. This is because not only the animal itself is expensive, but all of the supplies will be as well. If it's a young puppy or kitten, they will need to be taken to the vet for health checks as well as to get them spayed or neutered. Depending on the size of the animal, this procedure can cost anywhere from about £150 to £350. You will also need quite a lot of money saved for emergency vet visits, say if they swallow something that they shouldn't and need an operation. And because animals like dogs, cats, rabbits and reptiles have much longer lifespans, they will end up being quite expensive over time as you've got the recurring costs of food and other things. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is commitment. If you plan to get a pet with a longer lifespan such as a dog, cat or rabbit, all of these pets can live anywhere from about 10 to 15 years. It's important to think about how much that this decision could impact your life. It can make travelling more difficult as the pet can't come with you. However, if you can leave them with a friend or family member, that would be good, but if you can't do that, then you can also leave them with a boarder. Pet boarding for a dog or cat can cost anywhere from about £20 to £85 a night. If you're thinking of getting a dog, then it's important to note that they shouldn't be left alone for more than 4 hours routinely. A cat can't be left alone for more than 24 hours. Rabbits can't be left alone for more than 12 hours. And guinea pigs can't be left alone for more than 24 hours. However, hamsters can be left alone for about 3 to 4 days as long as you give them plenty of food, water and enrichment before you leave. Reptiles also can't be left alone for more than a day or two. Of course, all of this depends on the pet and the situation. The next thing that's important to talk about are responsibilities. Getting any pet means that you'll have to clean up after them a lot more. This can range from picking up after a dog or cleaning a hamster's cage. It can also mean vacuuming a guinea pig or rabbit's hay off of the floor or pet hair off of the floor. It could also mean doing a water change in a fish tank, or cleaning a reptile's enclosure. All of this cleaning can take up quite a lot of time, so if you don't like cleaning, then a pet may not be for you. However, it would be easier to clean up after a small animal such as a rodent than a big dog. Getting a pet also means that you'll have to dedicate quite a lot of time to either walk them or play with them. Smaller breeds of dog need at least 30 minutes of exercise per day. Larger breeds of dog can need anywhere from about 60 minutes to 90 minutes of walking time per day. This is essential for them to remain healthy both physically and mentally. Cats can benefit from around 40 minutes of playtime each day. Guinea pigs may benefit from around an hour of playtime per day. It's nice to spend about 10 to 20 minutes with your rabbit each day. And for a hamster, it's a good idea to free roam them for about 15 minutes to half an hour each day. However, this isn't essential and it depends on the type of hamster that you have. With a creature like a fish, you don't really need to spend much time with them, however you will need to check the water levels and feed them every day. This will only take about 5 minutes, however if you're cleaning the tank this will take a lot longer depending on the size of the tank. Some responsibilities that you'll also gain from adopting a dog or cat include having to brush their teeth about once or twice a day. This is something that's incredibly important but not enough owners do. This will just help them maintain good dental hygiene. It's good to try and get your cat used to brushing their teeth about 3 times a week. However, this might not be possible depending on the temperament of your pet. Giving your dog certain types of chews and treats can also help with dental hygiene. If you have a long-haired animal such as a dog, cat, hamster, rabbit or guinea pig, they will require grooming. Long-haired dogs and cats need to be groomed anywhere from every single day to about 4 times a week. A dog may need to visit a groomer for a haircut every 8 to 12 weeks. This is another thing that can be quite expensive after a few grooms. Long-haired hamsters only need to be groomed about once a week. You can do this with a toothbrush. Guinea pigs with very long coats will need to be groomed about 2 to 3 times a week. Something to keep in mind if you're planning to get a puppy is that you'll need to take them out on potty breaks every 1 to 2 hours. This applies for dogs that are younger than 6 months old. This means getting up at night as well. This means that you could end up being quite sleep deprived if you get a new puppy. Some behaviours that you should be expecting from a 6-week to a 4-month-old puppy and beyond are behaviours like biting. Puppies learn about the world with their mouth, so that means that they'll try and put everything in their mouth. So it's important to be prepared for puppy biting as their teeth are quite sharp. This is something that you should expect when bringing home any new young furry pets. Even rodents like mice, gerbils, hamsters, guinea pigs and rabbits are prone to biting when you first bring them home as they're not tame yet. When you first bring them home, they will be in a new environment which can be quite stressful for them. Some other things to expect from a young puppy include accidents. It's very important to get a disinfecting pet stain remover for when the puppy has accidents. They will definitely happen while you're trying to potty train them, and they may also have potty training regressions. This means once they seem potty trained, they might regress and then start having accidents again, and then you have to train them out of that. It's important not to make a big fuss when the puppy has an accident or try telling them off. This is because they won't understand why you're telling them off. It could also just make them scared to go to the toilet in front of you. Instead, it's a good idea to just calmly clean the area. Another behaviour that can make owners quite anxious is when the puppy's crying or barking in a crate or puppy pen or when they are alone. Some other behaviours to expect include confusion or the puppy feeling overwhelmed or shutting down. They will also most likely pull on the leash, bark and then chew things. With lots of time, patience and training, the puppy may be able to grow out of these behaviours. However, some dogs just don't grow out of this, and this can be very frustrating for the owner. The average mental age of a dog is about 2 to 2.5 years old. This means that having a dog can be similar to having a child. However, the dog will never grow out of the stage of acting like a 2-year-old. That's just something that may be important to keep in mind before you get a puppy. Something that's very common with new pet owners is having magical thinking and having expectations that are too high when getting a pet. This can lead to them being disappointed when they find out what owning a pet is really like. This is why it's really important to research what it's really like to own an animal. It can be really useful to talk to other owners of the animal that you'd like to get. This can help you build insight on what it's really like to own the pet that you'd like to own. Talking to a vet can also be helpful as they can help you understand what it's like to own the animal and see whether you'd be the right owner for that animal. It can be useful to look on YouTube for videos like things I wish I knew before I got this pet. You may be able to find out some really important tips that you didn't know before. I've made a video that's called Everything I Wish I Knew Before Getting a Hamster. All of the information in that video is up to date, and it can help prevent owners from making the same mistakes as many pet owners have. It can also help to look on forums like Reddit for other people's experience when first getting a puppy or a kitten or whatever other animal that you'd like to get. There is something that you may not have heard of called the puppy blues or the kitten blues. This is a term that's used to describe how new puppy owners have felt after adopting a new puppy. It's characterised by sadness, exhaustion, numbness, anxiety and other difficult feelings after adopting a puppy. This is a completely normal feeling for new pet owners. This feeling can apply to after you get any animal. Sometimes new owners don't realise what they're getting into, and it can lead to them feeling regretful that they got that animal. If you feel like you can relate to this or you want to find out more about this, then I'd recommend doing more research on this online. This is also why it's so important to not impulsively get an animal. This is because owning a pet may not be like what you thought it would be, and this can lead to the animal being rehomed. This will be stressful for you and the pet. Something that can be incredibly helpful to prevent this is fostering or looking after someone else's animal that you'd like to own in the future. This means that you get an idea of what it's like to own that pet without the long-term commitment. Another thing that's really important to consider is whether you're allergic to the pet that you want to get. If you've never owned the pet that you want to get before, then there's a chance that you could be allergic. It's also important to think about the animal's diet. Carnivorous animals like dogs and cats will obviously need to eat meat. If you're someone who's gone vegan or vegetarian to help the environment and be more eco-friendly, then that's brilliant. However, you may not want your animal to be eating meat. For that reason, it's important to not get a carnivorous animal and try and make them go vegan. This is because this isn't ideal for the dog. It is possible for a dog to survive on a vegan diet, but it's a lot more difficult for them to get the right balance of nutrients. Cats absolutely cannot be vegetarian or vegan. Dogs and cats combined are also responsible for around 1.5% of US emissions of methane. Their diet also accounts for up to 30% of the environmental impact from all animal production. If that's something you're worried about, then I wouldn't recommend getting an animal like a dog or a cat. It would be much better to get a vegetarian or vegan animal, such as a rabbit or a guinea pig. If you're scared or really do not like insects, I wouldn't recommend getting an animal that eats insects. Quite a few different types of reptiles, such as crested geckos, leopard geckos and bearded dragons, eat insects. Lots of rodents, such as hamsters, also eat insects, such as mealworms. Hamsters and other rodents do need to have insects in their diet in order to get enough protein. However, if you're okay with just giving them a balanced seed mix that has dried mealworms in it, they should be getting enough protein. The same applies for snakes. If you want to get a snake but don't want to feed them things like rodents, which I completely understand, then I wouldn't recommend getting a snake. It's not fair to deprive an animal of something that they need just because you're scared of it or don't want to feed it to them. This would be their natural diet in the wild, so it needs to be replicated in captivity. Another thing that's very important to do is to talk to professionals and not people that are trying to sell you the pet. This includes breeders and pet store owners. This is because these people may want to just try and sell you the pet to make money. A responsible breeder, however, would not just be trying to sell you the pet. It's a good idea to talk to professionals like vets about getting a new pet. Or maybe try talking to people that have experience in owning the pet that you want to get. The final thing that's important to think about is whether you have enough space in your home for the pet that you want to get. For example, if you want to get a hamster, do you have enough space for a cage that's a minimum of 100 by 50 centimeters that's away from a window? Or if you're thinking about getting a dog, do you have a secure garden with gates and a fence? Or if you're thinking about getting any other animal, do you have enough space for a suitably sized enclosure? If you have an animal that's going to free roam like a rabbit, dog or cat, then it's important to make sure that there's no cables or wires that they could potentially bite. Something that's extremely important is to make sure all of the plants in your garden are safe for the animal that you're going to get if they're going in the garden. This is because if they do eat the plants, then they won't get ill. That's the end of this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. Bye!